Welcome back. Today's video is a Toyota Aygo with no brakes. So I'll show you what happens. So there's a brake pedal, hit the pedal all the way to the floor. So that tells me that there's a brake pedal being bust. So that's going to be my job today. So the first thing I do, just to try and make it easier for myself, as you can see today is a bit damp, so all underneath the car is all wet, so it's kind of hard to see exactly where it's leaking from. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the bonnet, put some brake fluid into the reservoir and pump the pedal a couple of times just to see where it's coming out. With the bonnet open, the reservoir's over here, so I can confirm that by just having a quick look inside, and it's bone dry. So that is the reservoir there, so I'm going to put some fluid in here and just see where it leaks out. So a little brake fluid top up, pumped a couple of times, and it's quite easy to find this one. I'll give you a look. So I've jacked it up just at the bottom of the rear spring here. You can jack it on the sill, but these sills don't look too great, and this is Toyota Aygo. They're pretty famous for, you know, corrosion around about here, so I don't want to jack it on here, just in case it busts it or anything silly like that. So I've jacked it on there, and I've jacked it on the sill just at the front, up there. So that allows me just to slide it up. I've also put it in first gear, which locks the front wheels, and I've got the handbrake on, which locks the rear wheels. So basically it's sitting on the two near side wheels at the moment. So let's get you in here. There we go. You see, dripping. The pipe's got like a PVC coating on it, which has also protected it, but near the ends it's just bare metal, and as you can see it's completely rotted through. That's just before the flexi section. So I've just given that a little rub down with the wire brush here. There's a little clip here, you can see the little lip that's there, so that should pull out and allow you to get this hose out of the way. But as you can see, it's pretty rusted in there, so to be honest I'm not too bothered about that. See if I can unscrew this nut. If I can unscrew this nut, I can just leave this in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to cut this pipe right here and get a single hex socket on that, and just try and get that out there without obviously breaking anything else. If I can get that out of there, I'll be very happy. There you have it. I've just snipped it, used a pair of tin snips. So the reason for that is it basically crushes the end of this pipe here, so it's less likely for itself to start dripping out, and I don't want it to. So I've just unclipped it for that bit as well, so I just move that out of the way so I can get a socket onto this and try and work it out. I was slightly concerned that a little bracket up here would snap, so what I've done, so when I turned it, it was sort of moving about left and right, you can see. So what I've done, clamped it with some mole grips, and with one hand holding that and the other hand turning the ratchet. So what I've done is, it should be a 10mm, but it's actually kind of rusted off to a 9, so I've hammered a 9 onto it, and I seem to be getting some movement on it, so I'll just keep working it back and forward until I get it out. And she's out. And I try and get that little thing out of the socket, but that's the least of my worries. So the next thing I need to do is decide when I'm going to cut this pipe. So what you want to do is try and get yourself plenty of room to get your little cutting tool in. So I think somewhere around about here. Also, you want to do it in a straight section, don't do it in a corner. So you want a little straight section, so somewhere around about here would be fine. So I'm just going to get a pipe cutting tool and slice it right about there. This is a little pipe cutting tool you need. This particular one I think does diameter 3mm to 16mm. So what you do is you put the pipe round it, tighten this screw a little, and you just keep wrapping it round and round and round until it starts to get nice and easy, in which case you put another little quarter turn on it, turn it again, keep doing that, turn it again, all the way until it cuts right through the pipe, and that way you've got a nice clean straight edge. So like I was saying, you need to give yourself some space for this. So a nice straight piece of pipe you want to be working with, but you also want to be able to enough space to spin this around. So if you're in a really awkward place, it makes more sense just to make the new pipe a lot longer, just so you can get a good access to the places where you're going to be joining it. So again, give it another little nip and round in again a few times, and just keep doing that until you cut all the way through the pipe. That's it, that's that one there. As I just kept doing that thing, tightening it, dulling it a few times until it starts to get loose, tighten it a little bit more, and just keep going, and eventually you'll cut it off. So because this one's got a PVC sort of coating on it, I need to remove this. So you can just use a knife and try and cut it off or something like that, or you can get a lighter and burn it off or something. I'm going to try cutting it first, see if it comes off. So I'll put a little slice here and try and see if I can just sort of take it off. So that's what I've done, just got the knife. It came off quite easy, this one, so took maybe about an inch or something off of that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a female end on this here, but before I do anything there, I need to slide in one of the female fittings. I'm a minor schoolboy error there. I need to give myself a bit more. So I'm going to peel this plastic back a wee bit more, because I'm using this tool today. So I need to be able to get that onto that pipe, and that out of the way. But the most important thing is you put this female end in first. You don't, once you flare this end, you can't get it on, so make sure that that's on first. I mean, I've done millions of these over the years, and sometimes I still forget to put this on before I flare that end of the pipe, so happens to us all. So just make sure that's on first, and then put your tool in there and ready for flaring this end and giving it a female end. So that's that one on, and there I've just used the smallest one on there, and I've tightened these wing nuts down really tight, and the pipe is just flush with the end of this. And I'll get the second part of the tool to make the flare. Now the second bit just loops round and goes in. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. A little point on the end goes right into the centre of that pipe there. This is why it's very important to choose wisely where you are going to splice in your new pipe, because you need the access for all these bits and pieces. So if you're in a very confined space, sometimes it's easier just to make the pipe a lot longer, just to get to a place where it's a lot easier to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start clamping this down, just tightening this up, and what it will do is that little cone on there will start to open up the metal pipe. Also, another thing to notice is always put your female ends on the existing steel pipe. The reason for that is the new pipe that you're going to be putting in is made of copper. It's a lot easier to play with, a lot more malleable. So the steel pipe isn't as easy to shape, so it's a lot easier just to put like a flange on it, the female end, than it is to put a male end. You'll see that why the male end's like, it's got to sort of flange out and then mushroom back in. So it's just a lot easier just to put the female end on the existing steel pipe and do the more complex fitting on the copper pipe. So I've clamped the tool down and then I've taken it off, and as you can see it's sort of flared out the end. So what you're looking for is make sure there's no cracks on the end and it's nice and smooth. So I'm quite happy with that, so I can remove this tool. So that's the tool being removed, and as you can see the flare on the end. It's not my greatest work, but it'll certainly do the job. So this bit here can then move down and basically screw on like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the original pipe. Focus. I'm going to use the original pipe to then make up a new one. So here is your copper brake pipe. Comes in rolls, I don't know, like 10 metres or something like that, but it's pretty cheap. You buy a big length of it for about £10 or something like that. So I'm going to need that, and then I'm going to need a couple of male fittings. The female one's already on there, so I need one fitting to mate up with the female one that's already on the car, and then another male fitting to go into the brake hose that I removed earlier. So what I do is I get my old piece of pipe and just sort of roughly cut off what I need. I always like to leave it a little bit longer, just maybe another 10-20 mils longer. The good thing about the copper is you can actually you can bend it really easily and shape it to whatever you need. So better to be too long than too short, as I say. So I've roughly measured out what I need. So what I've done is basically got the old pipe, placed it on the new one, and given it maybe another 10-20 mils. Put the cutting tool on, I do the same again. So give it a little nip, spin it around a few times, another little nip, spin it around, keep doing that until you cut the pipe right through. And there we have section cut off that I'm going to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a male end on one side, but before you do the other side you need to remember to put the connections on, because like I said, once you've made the fittings at the end, you won't be able to get these on. So don't do the schoolboy error and forget to do that. So I normally do one side and then slide the two fittings on and then do the other side. Inside the kit you get these little sort of fittings here. So this is the one you use all the time for brakes. I've never used any of these. These also have different diameter pipes. But brake pipes, this is what you're looking for, this wee little one here. So the little pin on the end of it, what that happens with that is it will slot inside the hole of the pipe while you're actually making the end on it, and what that does is it basically stops the end from getting crushed and allows that to stay open. But I'll show you how to do the male section now. So just like you did for the female section, you clamp it into this little jig here. But what you do is you just leave it proud a little bit. So I'm talking maybe what's that, about 3 mils or something like that. The exact protrusion there doesn't have to be perfect. The good thing about the copper is it's very malleable in the sense that you can basically squash it into any shape. So I put the tool in and it will crush it down, and as long as you're not a million miles sticking out there, it'll pretty much give you the same fitting each time. So what I do is I get that little tool. If you can see this actually. So what I'll do is get that little tool and I place that into the hole, and then I get the clamp, one we used earlier, like that, and put it over the whole lot of that, a bit like that. Yeah, good look at that, like so. So once I clamp that thing down, it will basically squash the end of that into a particular shape. I've taken that out, and it's certainly not my greatest work. As you can see, basically it comes out and then goes back in. But the good thing about the copper, if it isn't perfect, when you start clamping it together, it will basically mate to the surface of the steel pipe that's already there. So it will further squash itself down, and the fitting should be okay. It's not my greatest work, but I think that will do. Now, like the important part that I was talking about, before you do this end, slide these on, because you can see that will no longer go over there. So make sure you put them on and put them on the correct way. As you can see, one's going one way, one's going another way. So I'm just going to do the exact same, put a male end on here. And there we have it, ladies and gents, we've made a new brake pipe. All I'm going to do is just give it a final sort of tweak. I'm just going to use this pipe just to give it a rough shape, and then offer it up to the vehicle and see how it fits. Shape itself doesn't have to be exact as long as it meets the requirements. So I'll give that a shot and see how that goes. As you can see, that fills the gap. So just sort of finger tight this one in here, finger tight this one in here. So a little bit disappointed I was now a wee bit further back than that. However, once I tighten that all up, tighten it up here, tighten it up here, I can basically bend this copper bit back a bit just so that sits just underneath that plastic clip here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tighten these up. You want to make sure that these are nice and tight, like I said, because there's a metal pipe, there's a copper pipe. when I tighten that up, it basically forces the two of them together, and the copper pipe, the end of that will basically mate completely with the flare on the metal, the steel pipe. So any imperfections should be taken up once we clamp that down. So just give that a right good nip up, the same with that one. Then I can sort of bend this over a wee bit and give it its final position in there. There we go, that worked out nicely. So clip that back in, tightened that as tight as I could get it with the spanners. It's 11mm and a 13. And then 11mm, tightened that as tight as I can get it. Same again, I put this thingy on it because of this mole grips here, just because I was concerned that the bracket might snap. So I can take that off now actually. And now we've got the fun part of bleeding the whole system. If you were just replacing this one pipe here, you could just bleed this one line, but given that this thing's been driven, I don't know, well, there's probably air in the whole system, so I'm going to bleed up every single wheel. I'm going to start with this one obviously just to kind of get the ball rolling, but a lot of times the bleed nipples and stuff like that are all rusted up, so this is why it can be fun trying to unseat bleed nipples. But I'm going to stick some fluid in it and see if it starts pouring out. So I filled that reservoir right up to the top. I'm not worried about level at the moment because obviously I'm going to bleed some of it out anyway, so just fill it right up to the brim, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump the pedal a few times, see if it stiffens up any, and crucially look underneath to see if there's any leaks anywhere else. I've filled up that reservoir and give the brakes a good pump, so I had a look underneath and thankfully I can't see it squirting out anywhere. So I'm going to have to bleed this line. This pedal is still going to the floor, so it tells me there's loads and loads of air in it. So this is the bleed nipple right here. Thankfully it's still got a dust cover on the top of it, but as you can see it looks a bit crusty there. So hopefully I can get that freed off and start bleeding this thing. And the good thing about this car is actually I can access all bleed valves, bleed nipples, without taking the wheels off, so that saves me a little bit of grief. So I've just took little dust caps off, given them a wire brush and soaked them in WD-40. I'm going to leave them for 10 minutes and then try and get them off. The most important one being this one right here where the brake pipe was burst, but I'm going to need to bleed the whole system, so I want all those bleed nipples to be free and removable. Now as you can see, the wheel has been removed, so that kind of tells you that it didn't exactly go to plan. The reason for that is the bleed nipple here. It's supposed to be an 8mm, it's rounded off at an 8. Tried to put a 7 on it and that's not quite right, so on it, set of mole grips on the top of it. Managed to crack it and turn it round, obviously to get access I had to take the wheel off, so hopefully I don't have to do that with the rest of them. So I've went round all the other bleed nipples and they all come off with absolutely no problem at all, so thankfully it's just this one here. So what I do is, see if you're doing it on your own, what you do is see if you get yourself like a bottle, could be anything, doesn't have to be a brake fluid bottle, just any old bottle, and you fill it up with some brake fluid. Get yourself a hose, like so, and you put that into the brake fluid. We need to sort of balance it somewhere so it's up nice and high, and then you can then crack off the bleed nipple and then go into the car and just start pumping the pedal. So the fluid will then go along the pipe, hopefully expel the air on the way, but because it's getting into fluid and the pipe's submerged in fluid, what happens is if it tries to draw anything back, it's just drawing back fluid, it's not drawing back air. So this would be a kind of one-man brake bleeder type thing. You can actually buy a special tool which is effectively just this, only a lot fancier. So that's one way you can do it if you're on your own. Just crack it off and just keep pumping it. The main thing to consider is make sure that the master cylinder up at the front doesn't run dry. So as long as there's plenty of fluid in that, you can just keep pumping it, and then just lock it off and check for leaks. And that would be how you would bleed that, just that one line. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to hook up a machine. That brake pipe there doesn't look too great actually. I'm going to hook up a machine which is going to do a lot of the hard work for me. Like I said, I'm on my own, so I've got a special machine which is a pressure bleeder. I can hook it up to the front of the car, and it will basically pump fluid through at the same time as pressurising it. So all I do is just basically go around every single wheel and bleed it one by one. But there's a specific way what you do when you're bleeding the whole system. You look to where the master cylinder is on the car, and if the master cylinder is on the driver's side, which it is on this car, the very first wheel you would go for would be the passenger rear. It's the furthest, longest hose. So you go for the longest one first, and then the second longest, and then it would be like third longest, and then finally that one, because the master cylinder just sits up there. So as long as you keep to that sort of process, it means you're getting every bit of air out of the system. So that's what I'm just going to do just now. I'm going to hook up that machine and start bleeding these brakes. So that's how the wheel's been bled with the pressure bleeder, and I can already feel by driving it out the yard there that the brakes are now razor sharp. So all I need to do now is call it fixed and take it for a test drive and see how it feels. But if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe, give us a like, comment, anything you'd like to see. Feel free to drop us a little comment and see what we can do. But in the meantime, I'll catch you next time.